I'm Tammy, and I'm the operator at Arizona State Park and for the entire.
Okay.
Arizona Agency, I'm Jennifer. We go from 15-ish to 25-ish to personality. So some are part-time.
Okay.
Some are creative, fit into whatever, so whatever works. I'm a real practice from housekeeping. Right now we have about 5.
I'm Daisy. I'm the my third day on the job.
Okay. All right. Well, we're excited. I can tell you, all of us are excited. You all going to be back on the water again. So that's great.
Right now, we have about the summertime, both sides of the lake, full of all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I. By the way, I love it when folks roll deep. It's one of my favorite because reason being, and again, like was a CMH was here last time, and so they all went back saying the same thing. It wasn't just one person saying, "Hey, I heard this." It was a whole group, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, it being the lone nut coming back saying, well, "You won't believe what I just heard." I was like, "Go away." Yeah. So okay.
I'm from the
Yeah.
gift shop.
Gift shop, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Stephanie Manning. I'm
13 employees. Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Awesome. Well, again, thank you back. Thank you for those who came back. I didn't scare you off or you're gluttons for punishment, one or the other, and welcome all the new folks here. So we have an hour and a half before basically I get something thrown at me by Chris back there. So let's get into this thing. So we're going to be talking about an applicant funnel here. Okay, when we talk about the hiring practices, well, I want you to just have it in your mind. With that, does anybody need a notepad? Anything to write on? One. Yep, no worries. I am going to apologize ahead of time that my branded stuff is not available, but I will, luckily, my backup stock. Anybody else? No worries. I had a garage. What's that? I know, I'm sorry, but my garage window was open when we had that rainstorm come through, and guess what was stored underneath that? So, if anybody else needs anything, just needs it, finds a need, let me know. So we're going to be talking about the framework and this funnel. I want you guys in your brain, want you constantly, when you're talking about sales and basically as far as for your hiring, we always want to think in terms of funnel. Okay, and the way you want to look at that. So, and we're going to go down each one of these steps here. So with this first piece here, this is a framework of best practices. What I'm getting ready to show you, I'm going to have some examples. It's probably going to only apply to maybe one or two of you in each one of the steps here, but we're going to talk through the principles where I want you to get to. Okay, you're going to have to adjust this to your company. You got to be willing to keep trying because chances are good the first time you try this, it's not going to work for you. But you need to be able to come back and then make some adjustments in the way you look at your ad, the way you look at your interviews, different things. Those are all covered in different steps here. You need to make sure that you have, and it's not in here, but it's the reason why I do this as a course where I teach this. You should have feedback mechanisms in place in every one of your processes. Find a way to get information back. So in the case of an applicant funnel, you should have a 3-month and 6-month review on how well did this person meet what we put out there in the ad. Like that should be line by line on what you had in your ad. How well are they doing? Okay, that should be intentional. And you'll hear me talk about that a lot more. You're around me. Everything you do, if you take time to do a job ad, it needs to be intentional. What are you going to do with that information once you get it? Okay? You're doing a review on someone. What are you doing with that information? Should be a feedback somewhere into the way your HR system works, the way that your training works, et cetera, okay? Always intentional. With this, it's probably going to take multiple revisions. When I first did this, when I put this particular applicant funnel system in place, and I had my HR person in Maine, this is where I refined the overall principles with this with a group of businesses. But when I started with my own company that I was working with, my HR person looked at me like I was crazy at first, because we're going to talk about what the difference is and how I want you thinking about this. 6 months later, I was talking with earlier with Krishna, we were in the 146% turnover rate, because we were in chain of gourmet donut shops, right? Dealing with people, it's basically just food, fast food at that point, quick serve. Turn and burning. We dropped down to 17% by the time I left, because of the system and the feedback function we used with it. All right. And it is broken currently in the system. And this system is broken in this country. Applicants hate applying for jobs. It's universally understood. Everyone hates applying for jobs. Even though they're trying to do something that's going to provide for them and their families, they hate applying. Who here hates hiring? Right? Because it's a struggle. So if everyone hates it, is the system working? No. Okay, we got to find a better way to do it. The reason being is it's designed to entice the right people to apply. Like you're going to saying, hey, we want to make sure that the person sees it and they're going to apply to this thing. That's not what you want to do. That is not what you want to do. You want to keep the wrong people from applying in the first place, or self-selecting as quickly as possible. We want a big sign saying, you're not going to be successful here. Don't apply. That's what we want. And signaling the right people, they're going to find success in your company. That's what you're trying to do. This part is this is the secondary piece. You're actually trying to keep everybody out. Why is that? Why do you think I'm saying? I'm saying like that's your actual primary piece. Anybody want to venture a guess? What's that? Okay, time, absolutely, it's a time suck for sure. Anything else? Onboarding, it's typically, just for a frontline person, unskilled, it's about, right now, national average is about $7,000 is the turnover cost per employee.
$100 bills on oxygen.
Yeah, you're just tossing again. But there's another piece here. I'll just let you know. You're protecting your team. You've already got your folks that are working for you and good. You want to keep the people who are a wrong fit out. That's the priority. Bad hires, they suck, right? When they're a wrong fit, it's a job mismatch, it ruins everybody's good time. Detrimental to the culture. What else can it do? It can get people to quit if you hire the wrong person because they're so frustrated. So if you get up and leave right now, you are already ahead of 85% of businesses out there. If you can get that as your primary focus. We want to design our funnel to keep the wrong people out. That is going to signal by doing that, that's going to let the people who are naturally a right fit, hey, this job, hey, actually, you know what? This is me. They're talking to me here. And they can see like, yeah, I'm going to just go ahead and apply for this thing. Because they're going to see themselves in the job application. I got that? All right. Does anybody have that number? Where's my HR folks? Okay. If you don't know this number, today start keeping track. You should know this number. Because what do you have to do with every one of these people who apply? If you're an HR, you're the hiring manager. You got to go through it. So if you are consistently getting a metric ton of people and you're only hiring 1% of those folks, you need better filters. Like that's what this is coming down to. How you are putting that out there. But also, this is so you can get your time back. Again, if I'm a hiring manager, if I'm an HR, I would much rather be working on ways I can take care of the people that are currently there to help support them than going through another application from Ryan, even though I know this dude is not the right guy for this job. Okay? It's all about that piece. So you should be tracking that. Number of applicants versus what that took, again, for each one of those jobs and what the hire rate was. Also longevity, like I said, 3 and 6 months, you should intentionally going back to see how well they fit to refine your job ads. Your job ads should be changing almost as frequently as you're hiring people because you're learning new things about your employees. Who here has a static job that never changes? Okay, so you should be looking at your job ads that much. And this is the idea. We're going to set up a series of filters. Each one of these steps is designed in a different way. And each one of these parts has its own filter with its own specificity to it. Because what we want to do, we want the wrong people, these wrong folks, self-select as soon as possible. There's some people that are going to get down to this level and realize that we want to, and they haven't come to the conclusion yet that they're a wrong fit. We want to make sure that we're letting them know by the time we get here, like we're serious, like we meant what we said, and they can just withdraw their application. That's the idea consistently across the board here. You're going to filter your folks out too. Don't get me wrong. And again, this is, like I said, this is the basic fundamental principles of this. Are you going to have all 4 filters? For many of you, may not. But you still want to keep that in your mindset. How do we convince the wrong people to withdraw their application? So, with each one of your jobs, again, for those, again, I did ask for you to bring a job description with you. That was one of the things there. If you didn't bring it, no worries. But just keep this in mind. You start here. What are some of the attributes that would make an employee unsuccessful in this job? Right? Lack of attention to detail is almost in everybody's job description. Right? So, right? We want good attention to detail. So, hey, we want to make sure it's saying, hey, attention to details be a thing. Right? Punctual. We're going to find those things that make people inability to follow direction. Right? So if they can't follow direction, they're going to be unsuccessful because you're training them. Here's how to do these things. You can run down a very quick laundry list. And by the way, it's really easy to find those attributes. Just think of the last few people you had to fire. They're going to have a big sign right over their head as you close your eyes and you try to picture them of what were the things that were incorrect about them that you had to let them go. Those are the things that you want to make sure you're keeping top of mind when you're putting your job ads together. And the same thing, what's going to make them successful? Think of all the people who are your best employees. What attributes do they have that if everyone had these attributes, they would be successful? Again, you're going to find it's typically your core values is kind of where that lives at a little bit, but also the attention to detail piece, that's not necessarily a core value. But just find those things out, okay? Make a list. These are good attributes. These are the attributes that people have that definitely are not selfish, right? Self-centered, typically don't do well in other businesses, in other positions, they do very well. It's okay. Just identify what they're at. And this is the way we're going to break this out here in the different funnel sections here. What we're going to be looking at the top, and you see why it's nice and wide at the funnel, because this is where most people, hey, this is they may first hear about your company, see it through the job ad, right? They can kind of see, oh, this is a place. I didn't realize this was a place they're going to be working at. So we want to be able to have the job ad written in a way that they understand the skill. So if it's IT, okay, be clear about the IT. And then also broad, this is the culture piece that we have. As we move down the funnel, and we'll talk about the different pieces, we're going to continue on that particular skill set, but also the broad as far as culture pieces within the organization. When we get down further, we're actually going to be looking at the person. This is kind of our check to see if can we get along with them. This is the In lack of a better phrase, it's the a-hole check, right? Is this one here? And the last one is a series of tests to say, can they actually do what they said they can do? The clients that I work with are all either have this or are currently working towards making sure that they have multiple tests to be able to say, hey, you said you can do QuickBooks. Cool. Come on in here. I need you to go ahead and run this. Can you do this invoice for me? Can you do this, this, and this? The thing is, the person that's coming through here, by the time they get to here, they've been notified multiple times this is coming. And if they don't have the skill set, guess what they're going to do? Either they're going to get the skill set and say, man, I did QuickBooks years ago. I just need to get in it and refresh myself. Or, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to do that. And they pull their application, which gives you time back, which then makes less people you have to review. Okay, so we'll go through all those. Anybody? I know you have questions on this, but it'll be clear once we get into the actual stuff here. All right, so the first piece here, the broadest part of your funnel is going to be your job listing. Nothing crazy about this. Your job listing should be set up in order of importance for the position, for the work that they're doing within that position. Their primary duty. What's the most important thing? And with that, in order to figure that piece out, your job descriptions, the thing that you have them sign, those have to be clear as well, because you pull your job ad from your job description. So if I said you're constantly having to update your job ad because you're learning stuff about the work, guess what else is getting updated at the same time? Your job descriptions, right? They're just getting updated as work is getting updated as your systems change. It's okay, because as you make large updates to them, you just have your folks re-sign them. And if they don't want to do the work, they decide they don't want to sign it because they know I'm not going to agree to that. Guess what you just discovered? They don't want to work there anymore. Okay, solve that problem. But it should be a constant, just update that. And this doesn't mean like every week, folks, but you know what I'm getting at here. So let's take a look at a couple examples here. Let's see. Let's start here with this garden center manager. I will pull this over. So, garden center manager. All right, so we know there's that. I've got a full job description here, right? Groundworks, landscaping, this position, excellent organizational skills. So right off the bat, they're telling you that this is organizational skills. You are going to be in this manager. It's part-time. Ideal candidate will also have strong communication, problem solving, et cetera, et cetera. Standard offers work. So this is an office job. Like, that's what they're saying right here. You kind of have to pull it apart a little bit to get there, right? Because this just says on-site manager. We want to be very clear on that, saying this is an office position you're managing. But look at this stuff. Look at all the tests that I could make right off the bat. QuickBooks. You're going to be able to announce right off the bat, hey, we're going to be expecting to see you're able to do this here. So the other thing, get over here. Let's see, let me bring down here. Oops. File maintenance, strong knowledge in Word and Excel. If I were you doing this, I would move this all the way to the top. First things first, you need to be able to navigate a computer here. We're telling you from the beginning, this is a computer job. Yes, it's at a garden place. That's cool. We don't need garden people. We got them. We need office manager people. So make it very explicit. And it's okay. You can be on your job ads, be straightforward on that. Like, this is office work. Yes, there's going to be some stuff out in the trees, but we need this part. This is the function within the business. There's another spot I want to. We get into benefits, schedule, right? So, case in point, the reason I'm bringing this one up, from this job ad, there's a few tweaks I would make. Two things that I would be looking at, easy peasy, when folks are coming in to hire. Those would be things I'd test on. Hey, I got these 17 people. Here's their availability. Build a schedule for them. Here's our hours. Make it happen. They got experience doing scheduling. Should only take them maybe a few minutes to dust off that node and get back into that rhythm after you tell them, the requirements, what it needs to look like. Okay, just one example of one. I want to go bring up another one here. Banking, so we got this. What do we got here? Look at this person. By the way, I had this up before I saw you were coming here. So just, and so full job description here. All right. Lots of words here, lots of words. Still haven't gotten into the job description. Aha, personal banking representative. Still going through it. This is a teller, right? Okay. What do tellers do? Without looking at that. Right? They handle money, right? Right? I need to cash this, or can you deposit this, or I need to pull money out, I need to make a loan payment. Look at what the first things are. Promoting the bank's products and services. They're telling you right off the bat, you're in sales. And I'd be willing to bet when you look at their job description, and one of the things they're looked at is how many basically new accounts are they opening? That's probably near the top, would be my guess. I don't know if it's number one thing, but it's near the top. But they're starting off by telling these folks, we need salespeople. That's what that's saying. If that's not the case, make adjustments to it. It's the ideal candidate, right? And the same thing here. The ideal candidate will have this first, then they'll have customer service skills. Okay? I'm sure again, one of the things you're going to be looking at, how well can they handle money? That's probably one of the things that gets people probably, if they can't get their, they're not going to get their drawers done at the end of the day. If that's not, that's probably one thing that they get removed for quickly, is they can't get that. Am I speaking it correctly? Okay. They can be coached on how to sell, but right now, when you look at the priority, they want people who can sell first, count money second. If that's intentional, that's fine, but the job ad should reflect that. Does that make sense? Because there isn't clarity in this right now. I didn't pull up all seasons cleaning on this. One of the things I thought was interesting, I went through yours as well. There's no description of what cleaning is. I got of the expectation on what house cleaning is. Like deep cleaning or other stuff. It's okay, I went through everybody's to look here, but those are the type of things where I was just kind of picking at them saying, okay, what sort of information can I offer up better here? And again, none of these would be incorrect by anyone's standards today. What I'm offering you is, you're going to see next, because right now we're just looking at these, there's little addendums we're going to be adding to the job ad. Okay? Same thing here, we're going through drywall hangers, so this is for technicians here. So understand requirement to read blueprints for SyncWave. We had other construction here as well. That'd be tests I would have for the folks that came in. I'd have blueprints in front of them saying, take a look at this. What do you see on here? And it's okay if they're brand new, you can kind of gauge where they're at, but if they're coming in at a higher level, tell me what you see on these blueprints. I had some when I was managed a service department for data cabling. We had stuff intentionally wrong to see if they caught it or not. For folks who wanted to come in as a lead technician, things that they absolutely should have seen was incorrect. With this, we've got understand construction standards is near the top here. Ability to read. Now we got some other stuff. So this one is actually pretty straightforward. Liked a lot of the stuff was in here. But those are just what we're talking about for regular job ads, folks. Nothing too crazy.
How much stock do you put in the tests and certifications? Now people can do those.
Yeah, about zero. Yeah, I mean, it's just another filter if you want to have it, because a lot of folks, you're putting that filter in front of people to see if they'll go through and do it. But I've found that they're not a good analog most of the time for the work that you're doing. Like, it's just going to give you a broad overview, which is fine if you want to see. That's going to let you know if they're willing to put in the effort. That's important to know those things. But I've always,
For your testing, you do that first.
because by the time you're getting down to testing, you're within your 1 to 2 to 3 people that are going to make the cut. Like, that's the idea. It's like, we're down to brass tacks here. One of these three are going to be selected. Let's put them in front of them, make sure that they all can do it, and then we can have that discussion. Yeah, pretty much. All right, so you're going to see that I've got these little splats here, these asterisks all over the place. This is what we've added to in the job listings, what versions of this for my clients. This is on the job ad. Prior to submitting your application, please note the ideal candidate will have formatted their resume in accordance with the listed directions. So we'll say we'll give examples of kind of like what we would like the bullets to look like or the statements to read. We're not going to assume people know how to fill out resumes. We're going to tell them how we want their resume filled out. Because, and this is a very important piece here, when you have this resume piece, and I've heard people saying, well, we like to see their creativity and what they come back with and how they, how they put their information out there. In my opinion, and I advise my clients, you tell your employees exactly how you want them to do work from day one when they come in. This is how we do things here. Start with the job ad. You're just letting them know this is what you expect. We want to see things this way. And if that's too much for them to update resume or their work skills to line this up, right? If you find out that spending 15 minutes to update a resume to make it look like you want it done however you want it, would you like to find that out before or after you hire them that they're not willing to put 15 minutes in to meet your standard? Like that's the way I put that, right? You have to revise, the best practice is to revise your resume every single time you're applying. All you're asking to do is just revise it this way. But you're giving them specifics. What's that going to show you if they submit an application and it's not in line with your resume? Attention to detail, not following direction, right off the bat. B-stack. Prepare to sit for, now, not everybody does a 30 to 45 minute interview. That's fine. I get it, especially if you've got for frontline unskilled folks, you may not need to go to that in depth. But I still recommend just doing a 10 to 15 minute one if you can find a way. One, it saves them having to take all this time to drive in, and out of professional courtesy, if they're not the right fit, I'd rather find out over a phone call than have to come in and all that other stuff. It's just a little professionalism back on that is the way I look at it. And then we'd be able to discuss the how and why behind the decision and actions identified in the resume. If you're going to put it in your resume, we're going to ask you about it. That's all we're telling them. Just be prepared. If you put something in your resume, we're going to ask you about it. That's all. Now, when you look at this, right? When I was talking about the different skill set that we're looking at, this is a broad one. This applies to all of them. Any job you have, or if you're looking for stuff to be formatted, just everyone. Can they follow simple direction? Will it be, again, same thing here, talking about skills, but also can they hang out for 15 minutes? Just to talk. And lastly, but you're letting them know this is what the next step looks like. So before they go and move on to the application, you're telling them this is what's next looks like. They have a choice. Do we want to go through this and follow directions, or do they just not want to apply? Everybody got that? All right. Which leads us to the job application. I treat these two things separately. These are two separate things. Job ad up here, when you look at funnels and the way it's meant to be is they just kind of know who you are at the top. When you move down the funnel, they're getting closer to making a decision about partnering up with you in some way, shape, or form. Same thing goes with sales. When you talk at the top of the funnel, anybody knows with sales, they just kind of know who you are at that point. Cool. As they move down, they're getting more and more committed. Same principle here. You treat it the same way. Same thing. You're just going to basically, when they go to open the application, guess what you're putting in front of them? This is how we want you to look at stuff. When we talk about the resume, remember we said, hey, you're going to have to apply, you're going to have to do the resume a certain way. They go and open the application, boom. Here's how we want it formatted. Examples of how they drove revenue growth, consistent profitability. And these are examples, again, for a little higher level folks here, but think about with your frontline employees, right? Let's just do gift shop for an example. Gift shop. Sorry about that. So a gift shop, you want to know that they've handled change before, done anything like that. That's all you're asking them. Where yes, I worked the register at Dairy Queen. Tell me about, we'd like to hear about how many people you saw every time. What was it like to close your drawer? You know, whatever, you know, work it that way, whatever it needs to be. Again, from the construction side, I know you guys can pull any number of things, kind of the same line here. Have you guys been able, you know, if they're saying that, oh, I don't know, again, as far as general construction, that they were able to run a crew, talk about the size of the crew that did, what they were responsible for in the, either the rough-in or whatever it happened to be. You can find ways to get that, to make adjustments. It's aligned with the job ad though, because remember on the job ad, we're gonna stack the responsibilities, the most important things first. Well, usually like the top 5 should be about 80% of the job. Right? So that's all you want to do is just kind of align it that way. Ideal candidate's resume will have their work history and accomplishments formatted as follows. You don't have to follow this, but this is kind of the standard look here. Action, impact, results. Lets you know what they did, what was the impact, and what did we get from it. I recommend you use real examples from the people that are already working there. Just change your numbers up. You know, as the examples, something you've had to work on either in a review or just make something up for them. Use your real work stuff, just change the numbers because you don't want to advertise everything out there. But I'd have examples to show them like this is what success, what you're doing by that is you're showing this is what success looks like here. This is what success looks like here. So when I'm going through and I'm looking at, okay, I got to update my resume, I want to see this is kind of what they're looking for. How can I match this up? Now with this, again, what I want you to do is you're going to make adjustments to this however you want it to look for your stuff. But I promise you, as somebody who in the last 7 years was filled out over 200 applications when I got out of the military, I had to revise my resume every single time, not knowing what anybody wanted. And when I talked to them, they're like, we just couldn't really pull out what you had done. So when I was talking to these hiring managers after I got hired and I got back into the weird, once you actually get back into basically community like that, you can start talking to people again. But if you're on the other side, everyone kind of keeps you at arm's length. I started asking those questions like, well, I can show you where I did all these things. Like, oh yeah, if we would have had this, we would have understood better. And that's all this is. How do you want this stuff presented to you so you can fairly look at everybody and see who's the right fit or who's the wrong fit? That's all you're asking. One more piece, just like last time. Prior to submitting your application, so we're hitting them twice on this. You're letting them know to do this, and somewhere before the button and or just as a reminder, please note the ideal candidate will, you remind them twice. You tell them once, then you remind them before they hit the button. Find a way to have it in there. Just remind them. And the idea here is you're being serious. You want them to understand you're actually going to do these things because you've mentioned it twice. Again, as somebody, I've interviewed hundreds of people, and the folks, when they came through and were like, yes, now it's time for the phone call, and we started talking about their resume, they're like, they were shocked. But you wanted to but they were quickly able to recover because we did go down through their resumes we're going to talk about. We just let them know. That's it. And if this is too much at this point for them to do, they self-select. Again, if you're asking them for basically 15 minutes to do the resume, and if because they want a job, in this case here, if they can't sit for 30 minutes to answer questions, do you want to find that out before or after you hire? Again, I know I'm setting a high bar for people here, folks. But if the goal is to protect the team you currently have, you should have a very high bar. That's where this comes back to. You should have a high bar for people for that entry. Now, for baseline, again, for frontline folks, the bar is lower because you're going to have to train some of those folks. But as you get higher, you should have a high bar for people to jump over to get there because what they can affect is larger. you kind of see what I'm saying here? Yes, ma'am.
Would you consider it to be too low for frontline, because 90% of people we hire are
Absolutely. So what I had for my frontline folks, I still wanted them to go through, and we had on there, if you have any questions, please contact HR that can help you with, which we did. And my HR and I even took some of those as well. I said, if you're having difficulties with this, which we had a few people, mostly they figured out, we gave them examples. If you were we had a high school, basically we want to know if they were on some teams or, different things, community involvement stuff. We found stuff, we had bullets in there from high school. We had some stuff from like United Way, but also for work. We did, I worked the register at Dairy Queen. And I saw, my 8-hour shift, I would deal with such people and I had to close my till out to make sure it matched. Something simple like that, just so that you could say when you wanted to talk to them. So talk me through, what was it like dealing with customers, on the hottest of days where everybody was in a bad mood. So you could kind of help them with that. So you especially with first line and you're getting 16, 17 to 22-year-olds, kind of that rate. I know 26 is a thing now, but we'll say 22. You want to make that as easy a ramp as you can for them, but you still want to have for them the attention to detail and the ability to follow direction are your two biggest things with unskilled people. So find a way just to have base level, can they match that up and go from there. So that's what I said, you're going to scale this to whatever works for you, but definitely find a way that the end of if you take nothing else besides the fact that we want to keep people away, we were trying to get everybody not to apply. You need to have a filter at every single step and announce what's going to be needed at the next step. Like that's what you're doing. Filter the people that made it through, here's what to expect. Filter people who make it through that one, here's what to expect. Just so they can be prepared out of professional courtesy. I hope that answered your question. Okay. All right, next is going to be the phone interview. So, phone interview standard. So this is where you get to start doing your thing, again, for hiring managers, what we're more comfortable with, the questioning time. But we want it to be this Pareto's principle here. We kind of want to do an 80-20 split on this. 80%, we just want to drill down and talk to them about what they submitted on their resume. That's what you're trying to verify, that they were truthful and to what level of truth they had. I'm guilty of it. I was guilty of it when I was applying for things. I had experience with stuff, but it had been like 5 years. And I was really good at it, but it had been 5 years ago. They didn't ask me how long ago it was. You have experience? Yes, I do. And I said yes. You want to be able to clarify those things with them. Like, how long has it been since you were actually in QuickBooks? Have you done QuickBooks Online? Have you had to do the budgeting feature? You can spend a little bit and kind of dig down on those. Construction, I know you guys got a million questions you can ask, especially on the technical side. Again, across the board, you can find ways to ask us, but end of the day, their resume, and this resume, it should be aligned because you told them how to write it with the top 5 things-ish on the job description. You should be asking them relevant questions to relevant work for these folks. So let's say we get here, right? We find, again, it's for fit, by the way. Remember I said this is kind of like that a-hole check? That's a portion of it. See how they're going to operate with you, because even the most qualified people, if they've got the wrong attitude, you bring that into your team? No, right? You want to make sure they're going to be a good fit. Right? As your team would much rather work at 80% full, but 100% of the people are on board and all focus in the same direction, than to be 100% staffed and 20% of them are in a job mismatch. They should be working somewhere else. I mean, they're bad people, but it's a job mismatch, which causes problems for everyone. So this is your first time, by the way, right here. This is the first time you're going to have actual feedback. If we go back up here, on how well your job ads are doing. This is your first feedback loop that you have, right? Because you got a job listing, it's there, and here's the job application, but nobody clicks the button until here, and this is when you see how many people are actually clicking through. And now you get to see the quality of folks that are coming through. You don't have to start calling people if you realize that, one, you're still getting too many, like you're still getting flooded with things that aren't quite right. Nothing says you can't go back and adjust your job ad at that point. You know, if you're still just getting flooded, or if you're getting 0 or 1 or 2 are trickling in and they're good for the most part, but you think there might be better, guess what you can do? Go back and adjust your job application, job ad again. But this is your first feedback function. Again, if the goal is, as we mentioned here, we hire 1% of the, half to 1% of the people that apply, you would hope that it's a small number of folks that are actually taking the time to do this, because you've been very clear on them that they have to have things filled out a certain way, lined up this way, be prepared to talk about this, all these things. So that's what you should be receiving through. And if they're not that way, they just go in the B pile because they haven't followed direction as expressly put out there, and attention to details not there. And they're self-identifying. By the way, nobody should really, by the way, that weird, awful feeling you all have while I'm talking here, everybody gets it when I'm doing this. Okay? Yeah, to be clear, I just want to take a minute here because it is important, because I can read the room. Like, Kristen, I told you this is the part, right? Everyone feels bad during this part. Just so you guys know, it's not supposed to feel good, because you're literally setting the stage for people. You're by making it more difficult for people to apply, you're actually making it easier on the rest of your team. You're protecting your team. But here's the thing, we've been so ingrained to we just want to put it out here and see what's available. How's that working out for all of us? It doesn't work, okay? Like, that's the reason why I switched to this. This has feedback in it for you. You can learn from it. You don't get anything from just the standard job ads that are out there. You get actual feedback on the quality of the folks you're getting, how well the job ads are designed. I've been the person that's been hired in before, and my job looked different than the one I applied for once I started working. And I brought up the one for the teller piece as an example. They're in sales, but they think they're actually going in to be a teller. You know, it's that piece of it. We want to be clear on this. This is what the work looks like, folks. And I promise you, because I've lived it, and I've had clients, as they're working through this, they're starting to see some green shoots from this. The people who want to be there are naturally, they're going right through the funnel like it's nothing. Oh, yeah, I can write this all day long. I did this. They're ready to get on the phone and answer those questions. But for the record, the way all of you feel right now is exactly how you're supposed to feel, because it's a different way of doing things. And it's a little scary too, because what if you change this and nobody applies? What did you just learn? You've got stuff to work with now. You got some data points. And so on the flip side, if you do this and everybody applies, okay, now you have levers to adjust here because you have filters you're trying to put into place. Okay. Now, with that, I understand the market here. I do know that there's a limited job pool for folks. But again, I will go back to this. You are actively trying to protect your current team. That should be your primary focus anytime you're looking at a hire. Not just getting bodies to fill bodies. Because as somebody who's been the person working with they thought they needed to get me a body, we'd rather not have them around. And again, it's not they're bad people, but it's a job mismatch. It makes it worse for everybody.
I've been told
Mhm.
because I right off the bat, I'm filtering out this job
Mhm.
And if they're not a good fit, I'm not interested,
Yeah.
because it takes a lot of time. Believe it or not, Some shoes is not as easy as what you would think it is. A lot of knowledge.
Okay. Well, one, I think all of us would, I don't think any of us would say selling shoes would be simple. I mean, yeah, people are picky. Yeah, very picky. I mean, okay, I would just use this example. My wife, these new boots she got me here, right? Got me new boots here. I've sent back 3 pairs that she got me. I was like, those aren't going to work for me.
You know what's surprising? Men are as.
Yeah.
Or here.
Yeah.
Than
No,
women.
no.
Did you know?
No. Oh, trust me.
I learned that. I was
What?
stunned.
So the secret that men will never share is that we, again,
Besides that shoe you actually wear.
no, not even that. When it comes to like, we're just the people that like to wear the hoodies and just whatever, we're doing that on purpose because we like the look. Because we're just trying to project something that way. Like, we don't care, but I promise you, they care. Because I know there's where it's at. But with that though, be picky. You're allowed to. Again, you're protecting your staff, but also, again, it pains me when I've done a bad hire and I thought I've got the right person in there, and you watch them struggle, and they feel, no one likes being let go. When you have to fire someone, I take that personally, that I did a bad hire, and I try to learn from that, because man, they're not bad people. They're just in a job mismatch. What it typically is, they might not be in a good place in their life. That's a thing, but it's a job mismatch most of the time, because they need to be something that they didn't need to engage X, Y, and Z skill. They would have been better over here. That's what I was saying. We want to try to continue on with this here. It's just a phone interview standard. 20% of the candidate's resume, 20% on business-specific questions to cover any perceived gaps in their resume, right? Because you've identified where the job stuff you need. You're going to put their resume up against it, any gaps you see, and then also ask them questions about what you do for your work. You know what we do here? Could you tell us what we do here? What do you think we do? One of my favorite questions at the donut shop. And they all were like, yo, you guys make donuts. That's like 3rd on our list. What? And we'd go down the reason why. Oh, that's why we didn't have making donuts at the top of the list on the job, on the resume. All right. So remember what I said? We got to filter, and then we're going to tell them what's next. So phone interview ends with information about an in-person interview. It's something like this. If you are chosen to move to the in-person interview, because again, we want to do phone interviews as much as possible prior to bringing people in, just out of courtesy. Because they may have to take time, they're going to have to take time off from their job if they currently are employed to come sit for an interview, right? So they may have to use PTO, or they may not have any PTO. They just got to call out or whatever it is to work, but that's their time. We want to handle as much during the phone interview as we can. But we get to hear, we'll say, hey, we're going to bring you in. If you are selected for this, again, 1.5 hours, you make whatever it looks like for you when you get them in person. If you want to do panel, you can. I've always liked to have one other extra person in there. I think it's just one of those, it's not for a safety or any of that other stuff. It's just like, sometimes I need my perception check too. Again, so we can be, there's been times where I've misread somebody. The person next to me got something completely different, and I was able to talk with them about it and say, this is what I felt. And they're like, no, this is what they meant. Oh, I could reflect a little bit. That's the main reason. I just want to be fair to that applicant, that they've come in, that meet multiple folks here. Okay, 2 or more, however you want to manage it. But yeah, candidate will be expected. So we're going to tell you, so that resume you sent us, where you said you could do X, Y, and Z, where you said you could weld, that you understood X, Y, and Z system, you know how to deal with clients. If you're in the executive, so you understand when you're looking at a P&L, you can identify places that need to be worked on. Cash flow statements. We're going to go through that entire thing. Expect for us to be having you verify that. Like I said, QuickBooks, that's one of my favorite ones, because there's a lot of office managers getting hired or trying to get hired right now. It's a thing, like, right? And nobody can find them. You know why? Because they don't exist. They're not there. Well,
We had some come in that thought that it was going to be like a great job.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I was just a week here and there. Like the job says full time.
there you go.
And then like, well, this is a career. Well, yes, it's a career. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's not a 20-hour job.
Exactly. Yeah. And so my clients in Maine, they were dealing with that as well. When they started putting this stuff up on here, the quality of candidate actually went up. And when the one they ended up hiring, I don't remember her name, but she's great. She's fantastic. She's handling stuff. I'm flying out there this weekend, and she's already got everything to me, which I was like, this is what usually I have to ask. It's nice to have a professional there. But what she said about it when she was looking at the actual job ad, she's like, this actually looked like a place that understood what I could bring. Like that was what her mindset was. She left a 20-year career in another spot as an office manager to move over to this spot because it just called to her. She's like, because she was ready to move, she wanted to see, but she saw it. She's like, oh, yeah, I can do all these. And so I'm just speaking from that way. So with the office managers, so that's the other spot too. When we're getting here, you're getting feedback, right? So we get to this point. We're letting them know, hey, we're going to be asking you about all this stuff. We're going to have you show us. Yes, ma'am.
What if our organization does not have other than PI, my pretty highly personality index, but nothing
Mhm.
procedural? Are there parties that we could partner with, like industry,
So,
versus trying to reinvent the wheel?
well, so the reason that I say on this one in particular, is this is hands-on, actually them showing you what they're going to be doing in their day-to-day work. So in the case, in your case there, obviously sales is a big piece for tellers, but we're not going to assume that's not going to be that spot. I would absolutely have them be counting back cash.
Okay.
You're going to count back cash to me.
Okay.
I'm going to show you how to fill out the actual, basically to do a withdrawal. And then I'm going to show you how to do it. Then I'm going to give you like 5, check them out and give me the cash back and just have them go through that motion of having to piece that together. Just see how long it takes them, where they're at. Because it blows my mind. The number of people that don't understand what a nickel is nowadays is pretty funny. So, which it is what it is. But those are the type of things I'd be looking at. Because end of the day, you're going to be able to, the personality index is going to take care of the top part for you, right? If they're going to be good for sales, customer service, they got that right attitude. You need to see down on the risk side of it, which is the cash handling and their ability to follow directions and attention to detail. Yep. That,
Being able to truly call that. from the
Yep.
beginning.
and that's what I would put in front of them. And just from a base level, if I give you 8750, can you give me XY back? It seems simple, but watch them. You're not telling them, you're putting it down saying, I need to withdraw this much. Just see what they do. Because that's kind of where that piece is, their ability to do math. But also then to do it, you want them to be able to see, can they actually just follow through with something as simple as that? Right.
That's so basic.
Yeah. So, and that,
Just come back on.
you got it. So remember what I said, none of this is going to be 100% applicable. We're talking about what can you take from this as a lesson to your specific, where you work at, and very specific across the jobs for all the locations that you have. Yes.
So what we do is
Mhm.
a little different. We bring them in for the first interview. With a phone, it's like there's a 2-person panel.
Okay.
And then what we do is, if we like them, we bring them back for a 3-hour working interview where we pay them.
Okay.
They come in and they work on the sales floor. They work within our staff. They see that it's upstairs, downstairs, and they're hearing stuff around and it's not easy. So that way, we found we had a mismatch.
Mhm.
A total misunderstanding of what it meant.
Yep.
So now we bring them in, and that's the requirement. 3 hours.
Okay.
And
There's nothing wrong with that.
we see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a time stealer, but we have been quality hires.
And what you're saying, what you're doing right off the bat, you're meeting the intent of where I'm trying to put out here for it's great. You found a filter that works for you. Because if they do it and they don't like it, they're having to struggle by going up and down the stairs or lifting things. They're going to self-select if this isn't
And
something they
that's
want.
what happens.
There you go.
Oh,
You
my
got-
God. This is not-
Exactly. So with that, now that you have that piece, I would inspire you to work backwards and work on your filters for the folks that are putting in to try to cut that down even more. That same intention.
That's where my notes-
Yep, no worries, no good. Yes,
So obviously, like at a bank, we have like sensitive information.
Sure.
Customer information. And recently, being through my master's program, I did learn like that is a tactic to have people after like the first year or whatever, come in, have the top candidates come in, work their job
Mhm.
and for a day or a couple hours. How would you think you go about that with like sensitive information? Because obviously, if
Yeah.
you do a teller job, you have to see accounts and
absolutely.
uh,
So, and that has to do with your risk mitigation. You have to work within whatever boundaries you have. That's why I was saying, you know, you can, that's why specifically on the teller piece, what I was saying, the one thing you want to see is can they even count back stuff back and forth? And are they a good communication? Do they meet that PI? Beyond that, if they can do attention to detail and they can follow direction and they can actually handle money correctly and clear everything out the way that you show them how to do it, I think that's more than enough in my mind. If they met that top, plus they can do math, you know, they don't need to take their shoes off to get to 20. We are, I'd move them on to that point and say, okay, I'd be willing to take that risk assessment at that point and say, these are the folks that I could have. Because that tends to be, you know, that's where most of the people who are doing retail for us, they couldn't count back cash correctly. Their drawers were always off. And we had 3 drawers and you're out. That was the standard. Like it was very clear from the beginning. You'd get 3 drawers after you're signed off and you're gone. We didn't take it out of their pay, but they were gone. And you know, that was a coal rate that we had. Okay, so just want to make sure you guys are thinking about that and just find a way to do this. Yes, ma'am.
Would it be, so we do in our training about attention to detail, and all it is a video, it's called a monkey vision.
Okay.
You know what it is?
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay. So would it be wrong of us to move that into the interview process?
I would tell you this much. If I were any of you right now, I'd be willing to throw whatever mud I can at the wall and see what sticks. Because right now the hiring is awful right now. It's so hard to find the right people. So if you want to give it a try, I'd absolutely give it a try. Just to understand the costs associated with it, and the length and what the expected outcome looks like. But so that way you can test it, because if you,
It's a 2-minute video.
yeah, I know it's not long, but on the back end of it though, how you can find ways to test it, because you need that for feedback to see if it's actually helping or not. So, yes, ma'am. Ma'am?
First of all, our applicants, they have to pass a drug screen. And marijuana is included.
Yep.
We have managers like Lori and Val that could have their applicants come in. But we can't really do training sessions on employees because right now you can't.
Sure.
What do you suggest we do? And as far as the training sessions we do, we already have our staff hired to go and do clipboard training, all of our trainings. What can we do as a seasonal employer when we really don't have access to really go and train them right now? Besides having money in the office?
So,
What do we do?
so I would try to find a way, the best analogs that you could find. That's really all I can offer would be, what can you do that would be, analogous to whatever you might want to train them on. If you can find something, exactly, what can you do that would be I don't want you guys investing obviously in stuff you probably don't have the floor space to have a whole training center type stuff there. But if there are ways that you can do the training, i.e., again, what would be an example of some stuff you have to train on the boat?
We do onboard the captains and the deputy captains. We like full training, safety precautions. We do customer service training.
Okay.
That's right before the season starts. And then people hired.
Mhm.
So a lot of our stuff we hire first.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a
So,
lot of training. But it's just after.
yeah, and that case where I'd be looking at, because you're obviously, when I say attention to detail is a thing for sure, ability to follow direction. especially when you have all of the passenger safety stuff that you have to be able to understand. A lot of that might be read and recall that they have, but I'd walk them through some. You could probably find some sort of analogy. You have to get creative with it, but where even possibly in a quote unquote some sort of stressful situation you can put them in. Say, hey, walk through. Here's the steps that need to happen if we're in the office here. If we have a fire, and that's, by the way, it's something I've done forever and a day. Anybody came into my place of business, we always told them where the fire exits were. It's just, I got it back from the military. I couldn't undo it. I've moved, right? So they come in and say, hey, if we have an emergency, we need to basically leave grab your stuff, and we're going to walk out and give them that. And then have someone come in and see how they do in an emergency situation. Like, we just had this happen. See what they do. Because that would be another spot to see how they're actually paying attention to the detail and how this needs to work for safety situation. I'm trying to find some of the best here. That was,
We're just starting. We just
Yep.
kind of-
yeah, well, so that's what I would honestly spend some time. And
I can go through a drive-through and have to tell the person
Mhm.
how much change I get.
oh yeah, I've been,
That's a big.
Yeah.
So even if I could change that.
so you see what I'm saying? Like, I try to experiment, but again, this is the time in this type of hiring environment you get, when things are great, there's no need to adjust your stuff because you got all these applicants flying in. But when it's in a low applicant time, that's a great time to experiment, because if you're not getting quality people in, okay, let's make some adjustments and see what that does for us.
Everyone in town is hiring.
They are, they are.
So everyone.
And everyone should be in here, but they're not. So you guys get a leg up. So, but no. All right. So with this, here we talked about, again, this was us telling them what's going to be happening. And this is the last piece. This is your in-person interview. We just kind of went through it again. Expect this to be the thing. So you've told them, we're going to be coming in person. You're coming in here. We're going to run through this. Like I said with QuickBooks, man, I might know it, but it's been a while. They've got an opportunity to either get into QuickBooks and relearn it, right? They're going to have time to maybe get on YouTube, watch a few videos, whatever they need to do. Or, you know what? Yeah, I'm not as proficient as I said I was, even I'm just going to pull my application, and they're going to self-select. So one of those two things, one of three things will happen. Either they're already qualified and like, yeah, let's get in here, and they're happy to show you. Yeah, I can do this all day long. Watch, here you go. They're going to get better at it, or they'll self-select. That's what you want to have happen. Are there some people that are still going to show up and be surprised that you're actually testing them? Yeah, they're going to still be people to be surprised. And that's going to happen. It's no perfect system. But at the end of this, where I want this to be for your folks here, find a way when you have them in front of you to just put a physical test of some sort in front of them. Just figure it out. To get creative. On the phone interview, as we work our way back up here, again, it's very simple. They told you what you're going to be, you've told them on the job ad, here's what we're looking for. They sent you a piece of paper of what you're going to ask them about. Because you're going to tell them, we're going to talk to you about your resume. So they sent it to you. You don't even have to really prep for it. They gave you a resume, just start reading down the resume and ask them to explain a little bit more in depth about it. You guys know when somebody's BSing you about right? You get that feeling? It'll show up in the phone interview. But the folks who actually have done the amazing work that's in there, which is most, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's not the case, but you get that resume, they're excited to tell you about what they did. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, absolutely, man. It was crazy. You wouldn't believe what we had to do during this. Right? All during the phone interview. In the job application, this is the first time they're actually committing to something. They're going to be pushing a button, and they've agreed to attention to detail, right? And also following directions. You've been very clear with them right off the bat. Yo, we're going to talk about the resume, but we want the stuff looking this way. If you can't do it this way, you're not an ideal candidate. We've been clear about it. And the last thing, again, go back to the job listing there. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get people out of here. This is it. This is what the entire idea is. We just want to keep the wrong people from applying. While signaling the right people, this job is meant for them. They're going to be successful here. Bless you. I have thrown out a lot of babies with the bathwater because I did not have a system in place. Because I was because you had quality candidates that just didn't understand how to do a resume right. They didn't have experience with it. So you tell them how to do it, and I'd show them they did great. You know, that's all you're doing here. And that's, again, where I go back to the spot here. We'll get back to that in a second. There you go. Just kind of circle back around here again. You, again, as business owners and folks, again, in your business, you tell people what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and what to level, right? And what to do all the time. That's what you do in your work. Start here. Just tell them what you want it to look like. It's not asking that much. It really isn't. And frankly, if they're updating resumes, oh, thank goodness there's a template I can follow. I can fill this thing in now versus trying to make mine look right and worrying about spacing and all this other stuff. If all you're looking for is X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get you X, Y, and Z. All right. So any questions on that? How'd I do? Cool. We'll let Megan get you out a little early. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to share some comments.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we got some of this going on already.
Yeah.
Everything's super heavy scripted. Hiring process.
Mhm.
We found that we have 5 students.
Yep.
We found that they learn way more about the person than that, just seeing them solve the problem. As soon as we bring it up to the person, we're going to ask them. First test. So it goes.
Yeah.
And, looks.
What, anybody else here? Questions?
We don't ask, we take your resume and what it is. We require that everyone fills out our job application manual.
Okay.
And on there, it talks about their wages and why did you leave and the whole smash. You know, and it forces them, I find the job application more telling than the resume. Because it talks about why did you leave.
Mhm.
And people actually put things like my boss, personality conflict, or laid off, fired.
Yeah.
It's, that I found was more telling than anything, than the wages. So we already set the expectation of, are you gonna, you know, are you got more than we're there.
Oh, absolutely. Again, these are, so you're putting that out there. These are other filters that you have. And that's why, again, that's the idea here, folks. Most businesses don't have intentional filters and feedback loops. Like that's what this is. You're literally, like I said, filter, let them know what's coming next, and it feeds back into your last spot.
They get an email, thanks for, thanks for coming to the interview, and before you come in, please fill this out before you come in,
Mhm.
or when you get here, you're gonna need to fill it out before you interview.
Mhm.
We don't see anyone unless they fill out the job application.
Yep. Oh,
That's
perfect.
just the way it is.
We receive a lot of-
Mhm.
For 7 days a week, and every other Wednesday off.
So with that, is that update your phone interview for that? Clarification prior to them coming in? Start with those, every one of those pain points that you feel should be in your phone interview. Yeah. Just so that way you're taking care of, again, courtesy to them, because like I said, there's a lot of folks that have to fill out applications and interview to keep their unemployment going, right? They got to be able to show they're still doing it. That happens a lot, you know, but with this, if you're going to, they will not apply to you if you've added all this extra stuff to them, because they're like, oh man, this is a lot of work. I can just go over to this one and click and apply versus have to spend a half hour here to do this. That's another thing that keeps them out of that as well. But yeah, every one of your pain points should be on the phone interview.
So is that way on the, they have to go to the website?
Yeah.
to apply?
Yeah. So in the verbiage that you have there is, you can apply on Indeed. Yeah, you can have that on there. Preferred is go to the website to apply.
I have it to go to the website and then still apply.
Then-
There are some restrictions on that.
Yeah, you got to kind of work the line there. So you apply here or there. We had on ours was, preferred candidates will be applying through the website. Yeah, you can't, and you can signal as loud as you can to them, but that's one of them you're signaling saying, hey, we want you coming here. So, but that being said, work with what you can.
The neat thing with that, we actually have is, you can have these custom questions. So we'll have these, 2 or 3 of them, it's like first job, the most interested in, and then they don't write anything, and then do it.
Yep. So, absolutely, make your adjustments where you can. Yes, ma'am.
You drive like every day, like, what do you just.
So for me, the applicants called us. We said, you will call us at this number. So we had them call us there. So if they were late calling us for the phone interview,
Oh.
we had them call us. So if they can't get to, if they're too late to pick up the phone and dial, and you tell them exactly how to get to you, you're there for the appointment, and they're late to call you, check minus. Yeah. Yep.
I did that for a kid whose job role required him to work like 7 to 5. It does a 7 o'clock interview at Bookmark.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And that's the other thing. If you have overnight shifts and things, I did all of my interviews during whatever that schedule was. So I was in on third shift for my donut folks for production. I'd be hanging out there. We're going to have you come at midnight. Okay. Because we start at 10, but we're going to see you at midnight. Okay. Come on in. Yeah. That called people all sorts. And then I just got to work with my guy, which was great because I didn't have the phone ringing with my regular job. I could just make donuts, which was fantastic. So, yeah. Anything else? Okay. So does everybody understand? Everybody feels better now we got to this side of it, right? I told you during that one part, it's like, this feels icky. Now you're over here with a better understanding of what the intent is. So with that, when you go back and look at your job ads, first things first, look at your job descriptions. If your job descriptions are not written correctly, i.e. identified where the most important things are first down the line, get that updated. Also, if your job ad has 47 different job duties in it, pull those out. Find a way to consolidate that crap, please. There's people that when you have 47 different job descriptions, guess what people can do? I can do this much of it, so I'll apply. Or I can do this much of it, so I'll apply. Narrow that focus down. This is the core stuff we need you to apply, so less job duties. Like I said, find that Pareto's principle. So with that, when you go back, remember, again, wrong people. Your job as a hiring manager is to keep everyone out, except for people that are going to be a good addition to the team. Now, also, because I said it before, I'm going to say it one last time. If you don't have in your calendar or in your hiring system a way to set an alarm to remind you at 3 months, 6 months, or whatever you need to do for Car Ferry, that would be the equivalent, feedback on how well those people are doing, find a way to build that in so that you have a signal that says, hey, I need to do an evaluation on Alice. Been 3 months. I need to talk to whoever they're working with. Or, okay, they're doing exceptionally well. Cool. Go back and look at how that interview went and learn from that. If they've already been fired, guess what you get? Guess what? You learn some stuff. Okay, go back and do that. All right. So with that, nobody else any questions? That's my website. You want to see a guy who does a lot of stuff in a garden? You can follow me here on YouTube. And I put stuff out on Instagram, Facebook, just about every day. It's been a little bit. I've been lax the last week or so. Long story short is I've been doing a lot of these things lately. Lastly, LinkedIn. This is really probably the best way if you guys want to get in touch with me or stay connected is on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn pretty much every day, posting something here or there. Okay, with that, thank you for your time, folks. With that, I do have, you guys are curious about the work that I do. Some of you guys probably grabbed this last time, the book here, but if if you're curious about the business operating system that my clients use within their organizations, that's a great book. Just kind of gives you an idea of how I help implement that with my clients. So, what's up? It's Pinnacle. Yeah. So feel free, help yourself. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
It's gonna happen.
I keep telling myself,
Me too.
not like